A group of students and academics from the University of Cumbria are helping to secure critically endangered species in West Africa and also help people who live there become part of ecotourism, which will see people visit the area just to see the wildlife.
Our project's been running for about 15 years and it's unique in that all universities have to offer to their students the experience of going out in the field. They need to learn to collect data, often under difficult conditions. And while many universities run field courses at a local level or whatever, what we do is we realise that there's a real need for information in the Gambia for critically endangered species and for critical ecotourism sites. So we've married the two together. So the Gambia gets the data that it needs to look after its wildlife, and our students get a brilliant experience looking at some of the world's rarest species. And a big part of demonstrating the conservation message to them is that you have real poverty in West Africa, desperate poverty, and there's no natural resources. So what we're trying to do is encourage communities to use their wildlife as an eco-resource to attract eco-tourists, so that instead of, say for example, eating a manatee on one day and having a big barbecue, they end up having proper food 365 days a year, because the Tubabs, the white people, are willing to travel to see these things, stay in the local hotel, buy Coke from the local bar, that sort of thing. So it's just spreading the word that there is an alternative to actually exploiting your wildlife in that way. You can exploit it in a sustainable way, and we'll help you by providing the information about what animals are there and how to conserve them. There's more and more exploitation because there is more pressure on some forms of tourism. There's not very good control and protection of the wild sites, so we really have to demonstrate how important those sites are. Just turning up with a bunch of 30-odd students, the locals are, this thing about bird watching, they actually appear to be doing it. So just going there and doing it is demonstrating to the locals that the wildlife has a value. We show them examples from around the world, like Florida with manatees, and tell them how much bird watching is worth in Europe and all this lot. And eventually, this strange message of you can spend all of that money going to watch a feathery thing that just lives in our trees. Yeah, that's illogical in African culture. But if we can get that embedded more, then we'll get people looking after sites. And we have seen developments of places like Farasutu and Pirang, big forests, where the local boys have seen that there's an opportunity and have talked to the village elders and said, look, can we stop exploiting the forest and can we develop it for wildlife, because that's our careers, that's our futures. So we're getting some successes. And in some of those forests, for example, Bol and Fenyo, we've just put a tree nursery in, so they can actually start to get the big ironwoods and mahoganies and stuff back and make habitat for the critically endangered monkeys that are dying out at the other sites. At Pirang, we put a water hole in, and as a result of putting the watering hole in, the tourists have somewhere, a focal point in the jungle where they can go and see where the animals will come out of cover to a central point, and they can watch it. And indeed, the last course we were on 6 weeks ago, we actually confirmed at the waterhole green mamba snakes, which is only the second site in the Gambia to have them. So all the time we're doing this, we're finding new species. We've rediscovered a couple of cats that were thought to be extinct, serval and caracal. We've rediscovered West African dwarf crocodile. We use trail cams and all other sorts of other zoological and conservation techniques to train the students, but the data we're getting is really important.
Educating the locals is just one part of saving the endangered species.
And I was involved with a particular species of monkey called Temminck's red colobus in the Gambia since 2014. I was called over to, in a veterinary capacity, to diagnose a skin disease in these primates. So we anaesthetised them, took samples, and worked with a group in Berlin to diagnose a bacterial disease which is terribly debilitating. And what we've done is we've tracked the progress of that disease over the last 3 or 4 years, and established, unfortunately, that it is having an impact on the population. So the population at 2 or 3 of our study sites is in steep decline. So this year brought some good news, because we trialled a novel form of treatment involving syringes loaded with penicillin that were administered using a blowpipe. And it may be small fry, but who knows, it could be the difference between those local populations becoming extinct and recovering to reproduce and breed.
is part of the course that the students are taking part in. Is not only giving them the practical experience they need, but giving them the chance to make differences to the environment.
Beneficial to the field work and practical side of our courses. So the actual benefit of going out to a field trip to the Gambia and putting your practical skills into practice really benefits you to show you how your career down the line will utilise those skills, and it models you to be able to take a science-based career, as well as if you go down the lines of the zoology route. So you've got all those practical skills to benefit.
The university are proud to say that these field trips are working, and they have been able to capture valuable data to help the endangered species in the Gambia. Sam Smedley, That's TV.